CHP unit in the area of Highway 17. I need you to report to an accident involving 2 fatalities, 1 vehicle rollover. The coroner has been notified at this time.
My daughter Kiara was a beautiful young lady, pretty enough to be a model, but she never let her beauty consume her. She was always still a humble child. Kiara's hobbies was probably your typical girl hobby: spending money, shopping,
talking on the phone.
Kiara was on her way to college. Her desire was to open up a daycare center, so she was either going to go for childcare or go for business. Jamil was into music. He made beats, so he would be in his room all weekend making beats, and then he would go to school, take my CDs and burn them, and then go to school and sell them to his friends. So he was a little young entrepreneur. He had a talent. People liked what he did.
Yes.
Jamil wanted to go to some school in Florida for music.
Mm-hmm.
The kids are diverse. Jamil is quiet. Kiara was the extrovert. He was the introvert. Beautiful kids. Weren't perfect kids, but they were just sweet kids. November 14th, 2006, I know where I was. I was with my friend, Mr. Jenkins, in his office, and it was a rainy day. Kiara had picked up Jamil to go take him to go get his driver's permit. And so I was anxiously awaiting to hear yay and nay on whether or not he had passed the test. And it was getting kind of, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I hadn't heard. And then I got a call from Yvette saying there was an accident. Come to the hospital.
Once people found out about the accident, everybody started coming to the hospital. And I just saw this group of men walking towards us. And next thing I know, they're telling us to come in the room. And we go in the room and they close the door. And I already knew what they were gonna say, but it was still devastating to know that at that point we had lost Kiara. So then after that, they told us that Jamil was in surgery. They were doing some kind of surgery on him. And so then by the time we get up there, they tell us, well, he's brain dead, If he's brain dead, then why do you have all these machines pumping his heart and all of that to keep him going? If he's brain dead, he's dead. And that's how I see it anyway. So eventually, as a parent, one of the most difficult things to do is to tell them, okay, no more. And then to lose both of your children in the same day is probably the worst thing that could ever happen to anybody.
17 and 15. Kiara was a senior and Jamil was a sophomore at Harrison Central High School.
Hello, I'm Corporal Johnny Polis with the Mississippi Highway Patrol. What you've just heard is a story from 2 grieving parents who lost their only 2 children in a car crash. And unfortunately, this tragic story is told by families every day across Mississippi. Today, Kiara and Jamil Pierce are represented by 2 empty chairs, along with 28 others. These empty chairs represent the number of students that were killed in car crashes in 1 year just on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. As of the making of this video, Mississippi is ranked 2nd in the nation in teenage driving fatalities. We thought we would bring this to your attention. On that rainy November day, Kiara and Jamil were traveling on Highway 49. For some reason, Kiara lost control of the vehicle. The vehicle went into the median, rolled over several times. Both Kiara and Jamil were ejected. This wreck has always been very personal to me. The day before their accident, I presented at their high school and I spoke about seatbelt safety. And I've always asked myself, what did I do wrong? When you're involved in an ejection, you're not going to survive that crash. The human body cannot take that type of trauma. When you're traveling in a vehicle, if you do not have your seatbelt on, you are actually a human projectile, and you can take everyone's life inside that vehicle. The question is, how much does your life mean to you? If you allow someone to ride in your vehicle unrestrained, you have given them the keys to your soul. From that point, they are in control of your life. the decision's yours. This next story is about a person who made a decision and a choice. A decision and a choice that cost 4 people their lives.
Brad was always a good kid, you know. Never kept any secrets from us. He was in church school for a while until we put him in the public school. So as he developed into school, he got decided to join the Marine ROTC at Gulfport High. And at the same time, he got involved in police explorers. And so he was a police explorer for 3 years. And he was in junior ROTC, and I guess he outgrew that. And I think he started chasing his future wife. And when him and Samantha got serious, Samantha is his wife, their whole outlook changed. They started turning into mature young adults. Their whole way of thinking changed. And of course, Samantha and Brad had decided that they were going to get married. She wanted to go to college and become a teacher, and Brad was satisfied with becoming a mechanic. Brad was the type of person that he wanted to save the world, and he did it one friend at a time. We've had several of his friends living with us. Chris was a 24-year-old kid. He was just as irresponsible as they were. But he took to us very quickly, and we took to him very quickly. And we welcomed him into our home. We were just that type of people. If he was a friend of Brad's, he was a friend of us, you know. Well, on October the 6th, Chris called me and told me that they were headed to the movies. And then I got off work, left, started home, and I called my wife and told her that I had to detour because of a really, really bad accident. An eyewitness arrived immediately after the crash and said that our son never put on his brakes, never swerved. In his opinion, my son never knew what hit him. And of course, the kids were killed instantly. The driver of the other vehicle was killed instantly also. My wife and I lost a 21-year-old son and a 19-year-old daughter-in-law and a 24-year-old young man that we loved like a son. And now we'll live to the day we die without those 3 kids.
That night, Brad, Samantha, and Chris made a decision to go to the movies. They got in the vehicle and they made a good choice. They put their seatbelts on. The problem is the driver of the other vehicle made a bad decision and a bad choice, choosing to drink and drive. This resulted in a car crash that took all 4 people's lives. I have a saying, one bad decision does not have to be followed by another bad decision. For example, you're at a party and you have chosen to drink, and you're worried about being home on time and you're afraid to call your parents. Take it from me, I assure you, your parents might be upset for a little while, but they would much rather hear your voice on the phone versus the knock on the door by myself. Our final story is about someone who made a bad decision, but fortunately, she is not represented by a chair here today. But her life and her family's lives have been affected.
Olivia was an average student or better, and she did enjoy cheerleading. She may not remember all of that, but she threw herself into cheerleading.
I was so happy that I got captain.
What about being your state champs? Virginia, you were
State champs.
1A state champs. Talk about going to the prom and having fun.
Prom is really fun. A lot of people did not dance, but if you got there and it was a good song, you know, you got to shaking and you got used so you didn't care who was looking at you. I don't remember anything. I just go by from what people tell me. What did I say again?
She was going to see her brother, and he lives in this rural area, and it was on one of those country roads that has, it's very curvy and hilly, and it was one of those places where you have like an incline and a curve at the same time.
Well, I was texting and driving. Texting and driving.
And then there just happened to be a tree, and of course, she wasn't paying attention and texting. She just drove, instead of turning with it, she, hit the tree head on. She was alone. There was not another car involved. You can't judge by looking at it that as much damage was done to her brain. And her car was totaled, but there was no, the windshield wasn't shattered, the top wasn't crushed, but it just hit her head in the right place and hard enough to cause a lot of damage. And they had to airlift her to Jackson. They, shaved her head on one side and put in the tube, because what happens is when the brain has, a blood clot or any extra fluid, the pressure increases, which will cause brain damage. The doctors were very concerned because once she had the surgery, she should have started waking up. And she didn't. But I walked in on December 20th at the 5 p.m. visit, and I could tell she was there because those blue eyes were flashing. And she looked at me and said, "Mom, I love you," and puckered her lips to kiss me. So that was just the most beautiful day of my life.
I had hair right here, literally. I have a senior picture in there. And then couldn't even put hair behind my ears. Oh my gosh, it was terrible.
She looks normal. She looks my pretty girl Olivia. But the fact, remains that she doesn't remember it. Until you've lived with it, you just cannot comprehend it.
Short-term memory is extremely hard to deal with. I'm not exaggerating if I say I can't remember what I did yesterday. I can't. I cannot tell you what I did yesterday.
When you can't remember what day it is and what you did 30 minutes ago and what you're supposed to do. It's just really difficult to do a whole lot, and again, to do it independently. And I think, again, for her to be 20, that's what frustrates her so much, is that she was just getting to her independence at 18, and then this happened, and she's not independent.
I can't work, I can't drive, so I'm a kid again, but I regret it. It's the stupidest thing you could do. If you want to remember yesterday, don't text while driving. If you remember what you had for supper the night before, don't text and drive. Don't text and drive. Be smart, don't text while driving.
The problem Olivia had is the same problem we all have. The human brain is not fast enough. The human brain uses your eyes to see, perception. It takes 3/4 of a second for that to take place. Then it takes another 3/4 of a second for your brain to tell your foot to come off of the accelerator and hit the brake. Keep in mind, at 70 miles an hour, you cover the length of a football field in just under 3 seconds. If you have your eyes off the road, looking at your phone, and someone pulls out in front of you, you're not fast enough to react. No one is. If that text is that important, please pull to the side of the road in a safe location. Send it from there. Your life or someone else's life may depend on it. Well, there it is. How do you want to be remembered? Sadly, they no longer have the opportunities that you have. Life is good. Life is complicated. Why complicate it anymore? I want you to take a look at this, and I want you to remember, this is the last key that you will ever use. It is the last key that any of us ever use. It goes in, it rotates, it locks the lock on your coffin. Now, you use this when you've accomplished everything in life you want to accomplish. Career, kids, retirement. That's when you use this, not when they had to use it. Remember this, you have a choice and you have a voice when it comes to saving your own life. Do the right thing.